and also apologize to him because there was an original schedule made, and it was designed that Srila Prabhupada speaks today. And then I offered to speak because the whole of this week, for whatever the reason is, we've not been able to have the assigned speakers to speak. So I decided to step in and then speak. And of course, Srila Prabhupada has spoken, and it's perfect, and it's so beautiful. The purport, if one can simply study the purport of this text, Canto 1, Chapter 15, Text 5, the purport will help us remain humble. Oftentimes, as devotees, we are told to be humble. And oftentimes, we are not fully cognizant of what it means for a devotee to be humble. Later on, I will play a short clip of what it means to be humble by His Holiness Srila Radhanath Maharaj. But humility simply means that you are incapable of doing something, and somebody is helping you to be able to do it. On your own, on our own, we cannot do it. And so if somebody who is more powerful is helping us do it, we remain very humble. We remain very dependent on such a person so that we will be able to carry out what we want to pursue. So Arjun has been asked so many questions by his big brother, Maharaj Yudhishthira. And because Arjun was so overwhelmed with the disappearance of his intimate friend, Lord Shri Krishna, his voice was choked up. He could not speak. So at this point, he was able to force himself to the point that he was able to say something. So this is the first response that Arjun is giving to his senior brother, Maharaj Yudhishthira. So Arjun is saying that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Hari, who was relating with me as an intimate friend, has now left me. And because he has left me, all my power, I was so powerful up to the point that even the denizens of the heavens were afraid of me. But all such powers are now gone out of me. I don't have such powers anymore. I've become, Arjun speaking, that he's become so much used to this power that has become part and parcel of him. And now the Supreme Lord has left, and because the Supreme Lord has left, all these powers the Supreme Lord endowed upon me have also dissipated. They've all left me. And now here I am. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada was explaining how as devotees, we should remain very, very humble and dependent on the Supreme Lord. Whatever little ability we have in us to do the things we do are all based on the mercy of the Lord. Recently, there was a situation going on somewhere in Ghana, and the temple president at the time was told that he was not preaching. As devotees, our bread and butter is preach is to preach. That's our bread and butter. So the devotee was told that he was not preaching. And he said, well, I've been trying. I'm doing my little best. I've been preaching. And he was asked, if you're preaching, what is the proof? Where are the devotees? You don't have devotees in your temple. But what these authorities are failing to recognize is that our preaching has no power to make anybody a devotee. That's the first thing we should understand, that no matter how expert we are at preaching, that does not have the power to make anybody a devotee. Making someone a devotee is only as a result of Lord Krishna's mercy. When Lord Krishna bestows his mercy upon one individual, then that individual can make devotees. And so in the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita and the Madhya Lila, Srila Prabhupada was explaining how Rupa Goswami was able to make so many devotees, and how Srila Prabhupada's guru, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, was able to make so many devotees, and how he himself, Srila Prabhupada, has been able to make so many devotees. And sometimes some people who are so envious that they see this or that particular devotee being able to make devotees, and they are unable to make devotees, and they become jealous. Such jealousy is only going to kill that particular individual, because whoever has been able to make the devotees has been able to do so not by his own might or by his intellect, but it's only by the mercy of the Lord. And the Lord has so willingly decided to shower his blessings upon that particular devotee to be able to make others devotees. But that does not mean that those who are unable to make devotees are not preaching. Srila Prabhupada was explaining in the purport that when Lord Krishna appears in this world, let's say Lord Krishna is not like very selfish being, that he always wants to do something for everybody to see that he's the only one being able to do it. And so Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport that the Supreme Lord appears in this material world and performs his pastimes. And when he does come into this material world to perform his pastimes, he also comes down here with his eternal associates. And when he comes with his eternal associates, he also empowers the eternal associates to perform a particular lila to make his incarnation, the purpose of his incarnation, complete. And when the drama, the lila, is finished, he withdraws all those empowerments. And so Lord Krishna empowered Arjuna to do so many amazing feats, unbelievable. But once the lila, the drama, the pastime was over, Krishna withdrew everything back. And so now Arjuna is lamenting because he realizes that he is no more his usual self. So strong, so much revered, so much feared. He could defeat the demigods, he could defeat anybody, everybody. But here he is. That, excuse me to say, even women with no fighting ethics are able to defeat Arjuna. All these are to remind us that whatever ability, capability we have in doing one particular thing, or whatever in devotional service, or in our life in general, are all based on the mercy of the Lord. Without the mercy of the Lord, We can do nothing. Krishna himself says in the Gita that not even a blade of grass can move without his sanction. If he does not empower us, we cannot do anything and everything. No, we always chant some invocations before we speak scriptures, that the spiritual master has opened my eyes with a touchlight of knowledge. Because before we got in touch with the spiritual master, we were blind. We were blind to reality. We were blind to spirituality. We were blind to who is God, what is God, and our relationship with God. But by the blessings and the mercy of the spiritual master, who is directly tapping that power from Krishna, gives us that energy and understanding that we are not these bodies. Our purpose in this world, in life, is to know God, serve God, and then go back to him. And so it is said in the scriptures of one devotee called Kavi Kanapur. We have one God brother on this platform called Kavi Kanapur, PRABHU. No, very sweet devotee. But the original Kavi Kanapur was a son to one associate of Lord Chaitanya, Shivananda Sena. Shivananda Sena had 3 sons, Chaitanya Das, Ram Das, and then Kavi Kanapur. So Kavi Kanapur was the youngest. And actually before he was named Kavi Kanapur, his real name that Shivananda gave him was Puridas. But it is said that this Kavi Kanapur, when he was an infant, his father Shivanand visited Lord Chaitanya, and then he put the child down, the infant down, for him to pay obeisance to Lord Chaitanya. Excuse me. And the child touched his forehead to the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya's lotus feet. And he actually attempted sucking the great toe of Lord Chaitanya. And so the devotees, they all became ecstatic and they all started clapping, Jai, 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 Haribo. See, these are devotees. Devotees are always happy when they see others being awarded the mercy and the grace of the Supreme Lord. True devotees are happy when they see that others, not themselves, others have been blessed, have been touched by the Supreme Lord to do amazing things. They do not think that, oh, why has he gotten it? I should have gotten it. That is not the attitude of a devotee. A devotee means that I am so happy to see you do well. So well, when, excuse me, when Puridas, as an infant, offered his obeisance, touched his forehead to the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and actually began sucking, as infants, they always want to put something in their mouth. So he started sucking the lotus toe of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and everybody became happy. So it is said that this same Kavi Kanapur, right there, everybody understood that the Lord has already given him his blessings. So at age 7, when Puridas was barely 7 years old, again, he received special Maha mercy from Lord Chaitanya. So at age 7, he got initiation, Harinam initiation from Lord Chaitanya himself. And after he had received that initiation, he was ordered and empowered by Lord Chaitanya to compose a poem. And it is described that he wrote this wonderful Sanskrit verses that even the Kavis, the Sanskrit scholars could never comprehend. And they were astonished how this little boy could write such wonderful verses with no errors, and his grammar, his Sanskrit grammar, had no single fault. So they all understood that this little boy has had the blessings and the empowerment of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And as such, Sri Swarup Damodar was the personal secretary to Lord Chaitanya. So he said, this Puridas has been blessed by Lord Chaitanya. So we're going to change his name. We're going to change his name from Puridas to Kavi Kanapur. Kavi means like a poet, and then Karana means ears, and then Pura, or like Pura means full. So that means that Kavi Kanapur is the one whose ear is full of poetic verses. Like when he writes, when he speaks so much poetic verses that it fills the ears. So he was given that name, Kavi Kanapur. And then at age 16, he became such a prolific writer. But it's all because of empowerment by Lord Chaitanya. It was never his own strength. It was never his own knowledge. It was never his own accomplishments. It's all by Guru and Krishna's mercy. So when one understands that the little ability in him is given to him by somebody else, why wouldn't that person have respect for such a person? There is a common saying that one who feeds your stomach also feeds your tongue. You know, when someone feeds you, that person also controls what you can say and what you cannot say. It's true in life. And so if our strength, our ability is all coming from Krishna, why don't we show respect and show some sort of appreciation to the Supreme Lord for giving us these abilities, for giving us this strength to carry on with whatever we're doing in life? Otherwise, we'll become ungrateful. In the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, verse 2, it is said, Krishna himself says that he is the source of everything, of power. Every power comes from him. Again, he says, the splendor of the sun, the splendor of the moon, the splendor of the fire, everything, all these things emit light. But Sri Krishna is saying that all these lights, all these powers we get from the sun, the moon, from fire, they are all like but a small spark of his unlimited power. So this is the Krishna we worship. This is the Krishna we worship. So it is said that unless one is a Vaishnava, how can one have power? One only becomes powerful because he is a Vaishnava. And because he's a Vaishnava, Lord Krishna empowers him to do what he, Krishna, wants accomplished. And so we read when Srila Prabhupada was on the Jaladrita ship from India to US. He wrote a poem on the boat, and he said, Lord Krishna, who am I? I am nobody. I'm like a fig in your hand. Use me as you wish. If you want me to dance, let me dance. Let me dance. Let me dance. I have no power. But because Srila Prabhupada was a Vaishnava and he acted and lived as a Vaishnava, he was empowered to do what no one could ever dream of. So similarly, when we allow ourselves to be used as an instrument by the Lord, then we can do what is unimaginable. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter being as little as Kavikanapu. You can be empowered. It doesn't matter whether you are a dog eater. You can be empowered. Srila Prabhupada again gives another example that Haridas Thakur actually had like a Mohammedan relationship. No, his line was coming from the Mohammedans. So according to like the Hindu culture, they don't have that very high respect for non-Hindus. But because Haridas Thakur was chanting the holy names of the Lord, which is not different from the Lord himself, because we know Krishna is absolute, and so his name is paraphernalia. Everything are the same as Krishna himself. So when Haridas Thakur was chanting 300,000 names of the Lord in a day, the Lord became so happy with him, and he blessed him. And from nobody, being a Mohammedan background, he became an acharya. He is the acharya of the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. So what ordinarily we will consider to be impossible is possible when the Lord showers his blessings upon that particular individual. Okay, so all we need to do as devotees is that we try to humble ourselves and pray to Lord Krishna that we are nobody, we are nothing, but please empower me to do your service. Please empower me to do your service. Guide me, guard me, so that I may be able to do your service. This is the nature of a devotee. A devotee is always crying out that I'm helpless. My Lord, I'm helpless. Without you, I can do nothing. So please help me. There is nothing wrong in crying for help. Nothing wrong. In fact, it is actually a false pride that somebody might think that he doesn't require any help from anybody. He doesn't. In Bhagavad Gita chapter 13, I think 13:8, Krishna again says the same thing. He says, he is the source of the light in all luminous objects. He is the source of everything. He is the object of knowledge. Again, Gita 15:15, Sarvasya Chaham Hridiv Sanivishto, right? So Krishna says that from him comes knowledge, remembrance, and if we want to forget about him, he also helps us. If we don't want to think about Krishna forever, he will help us never to think of him. But who loses? Just like the gopis were praying to Krishna the other time, we were talking about that. It says Krishna, he can abandon us, he can leave us, and he will still be happy. But for us as gopis, when Krishna abandons us, we cannot live. So for us as jivas, as loving entities, we can never live without Krishna. And so if we try to live our lives just like that of Arjuna, then that will help us become so dependent on Krishna. Our relationship with Krishna is that of dependence. Our relationship with everybody and anything else is interdependence. Because I need something from you, you need something from me. You want something from me, I want something from you. Krishna doesn't need anything from us. He doesn't want anything from us. He only wishes us good will. He only wishes that we do the right thing. But if we decide not to do the right thing, he's Atmaram. He doesn't suffer. We suffer. If we want to forget about him, he will give us his Mahamaya, thick blanket. We get covered and we forget about our real identity, and we don't even think of Krishna ever. You'll be surprised. There are so many people who do not even think of God for a moment. Again, Sri Sanatana Goswami and Rupa Goswami, they are so powerful in our line. We know them to be very empowered. Empowered means that they, on their own, are not as strong, powerful as we know them to be. But because they have been empowered by the Supreme Lord, they exhibit all these amazing, incomprehensible powers. And why would Krishna empower one person and not empower the other person? Of course, it's Krishna's desire, Krishna's will. But there are things that attract the Supreme Lord also to shower his blessing upon somebody. When the Lord sees the sincere effort of an individual trying to serve the Lord, then the Lord empowers him. Just as a father, when you see your struggling child trying to learn to walk, then you help support the child and you help guide him how to walk. And so similarly, the Supreme Lord, when he sees an individual making an effort trying to serve him, then the Lord empowers such a being to accomplish what he is struggling for, to become successful. So it is said that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, of course, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna. See, we have these three personalities, Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, and Sri Advaita. So Advaita is Prabhu, Nityananda is Prabhu, and Lord Chaitanya is Prabhu. They are all Prabhu. Prabhu means master. So Advaita is Prabhu, Nityananda is Prabhu, Chaitanya is Prabhu. But Chaitanya is called Maha Prabhu. He's the greatest. And so Kavi Kanapur, as we talked about earlier, has one book. I've forgotten the title, but something Gadodesh. He describes in that book how Krishna appearing as the Panchatattva, the five absolute truths, they are all one and the same, and at the same time different. And so Lord Nityananda is Lord Chaitanya, Advaita is Lord Chaitanya, Srivas is Lord Chaitanya, Gadadhar is Lord Nityananda, but they are all at the same time subordinate to Lord Chaitanya. And so Lord Chaitanya is called Mahaprabhu, and the rest are called Prabhu. Nityananda Prabhu, Advaita Prabhu, Srivas Prabhu, Gadadhar Prabhu. So it is said that Lord Chaitanya entered into the heart, Hridi, of Rupa Goswami, and then empowered him to ascertain the proper conclusion of all truths in the scriptures. And so Lord Chaitanya made him an experienced devotee up to the point that his decisions and conclusions of the scriptures are non-different from the previous acharyas. And how was Rupa Goswami able to do this? Because he was empowered. Because he was empowered. It is said how Rupa Goswami was writing his scripts in the heat of the scorching sun. But because he was so much absorbed, Srimati Radharani had to come and then use her personal sari as an umbrella to shield him from the heart-burning, scorching sun. This is empowerment. When we allow ourselves to be used by the Lord, then we can do more than we can ever imagine. But there are others who get this empowerment, and sometimes they abuse the empowerment. They abuse it. They abuse the power. And so when you abuse the power, then Krishna will take that power from you and you become invalid. You become invalid. Well, thank you for your audience and your presence. So at this point, I think I will end here and then ask the devotees if anyone has a question or comment, and then we discuss the class. Thank you so much, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, SAHADEV, for the wonderful class, and also taking the initiative, being sensitive to the events of the last 4 or 5 days, and deciding to give us a personal sharing of realization. Thank you so much. Devotees, the Q&A section is open. Please kindly indicate by raising your hand using the emoji. I can see Govinda Prabhu is
we don't hear you. Hare Krishna Prabhu, please, we don't hear you.
Oh,
I can hear him though.
Okay.
Can you hear me, Mother Sunita?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. Okay, I think Salika is working on his audio.
that's strange.
Okay.
Maybe my sinful activities are raising so much that the mother is not hearing.
Well, it's good you're saying maybe, so that is not the case.
Ah.
I think we have Stephen Hallow with his hand up.
Yes, Stephen Hallow, Prabhu, please kindly unmute, and let's hear your question or comments or contribution. Stephen Hallow, please unmute.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Yes,
Vandana pranam unto you. Thank you for your nice lecture. Yeah, so I didn't hear from the earlier part that preaching doesn't make one a devotee. If that's the case, what's the importance of hearing? Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
I think that is not exactly what SAHADEV Prabhu said. What he said was that when sometimes devotees says that the sign of someone preaching is that there are many devotees made or convinced to be a devotee. And what he was saying is that the ability to convince someone or to make someone a devotee depends on Krishna. It's not saying that preaching doesn't make one a devotee, but I think that's what I heard. So therefore you can make a response to that.
All right, thank you, Salika Prabhu. That's exactly what I was saying. So, Stephen Hallow, yeah. We are trying to be devotees. some of us may believe that we are devotees. And so we preach. As devotees, I said it, that is our bread and butter. I mean, that is our life. Our life is to preach. There are two types of preaching, like reading the scriptures, studying the scriptures, and then speaking the scriptures, which is good. And then the other part is living the scriptures. So Lord Chaitanya was very much appreciative of Haridas Thakur because Haridas Thakur knew the scriptures, he could preach nicely, and at the same time, he could live what he was preaching. So that is there. But when someone is able to make devotees, like Srila Prabhupada came to the West and made dog eaters, drug addicts, so many people from all walks of life, devotees, he was able to do that because he was particularly empowered by Lord Shri Krishna to do that. Otherwise, no single individual from his own preaching capabilities make somebody become a devotee. And that we should always understand. And when we understand that, that will also help us remain humble. Because sometimes we may be tempted to thinking that I know so much, I can convince people to become devotees, which is never true. Which is never true. But the mere fact that somebody goes out there to preach and has not been able to make somebody come live in the temple or live wherever he is and practice devotional life does not mean that that individual is not preaching. I mean, you went out there and distributed books. So you are preaching. But the books you distributed to how many people you distributed to does not mean that all those people are going to become devotees. For them to become devotees, that lies only in the hands of Krishna. So that's what I meant. I don't know if that helps clarify your question, Stephen.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much. So could we say preaching is also setting a stepping stone for the one to maybe build on it someday by the mercy of the Supreme Lord?
That should be our prayer. That, you see, as devotees, we sometimes, if not oftentimes, do not pray to the Lord. You know, we just chant Hare Krishna mantra because that is what is being recommended. But as devotees, we should also learn how to pray to Krishna. I'm not a very prayerful person, but it's very wonderful when devotees learn how to pray. It is said that we had His Holiness Giriraj Maharaj speak to us one day, and he was sharing a story with us that Srila Prabhupada had told the disciples that he will never fall. You know, like we said, this devotee fell, that devotee fell. Srila Prabhupada said he will never fall. And so, few days after Srila Prabhupada had told the devotees that he, Srila Prabhupada, will never fall, they saw Srila Prabhupada standing in front of Lord Chaitanya deity and was crying. And so the devotee who saw Srila Prabhupada standing before Lord Jagannath crying quickly ran and called other devotees to come and see. Srila Prabhupada, who has told us he can never fall, he is standing in front of Lord Krishna and crying. And crying. What does that mean? So, few handful of devotees went and saw Srila Prabhupada still standing in front of Lord Chaitanya, prayerfully crying. So after that, they wanted to find out from some of the senior devotees what was the significance or the meaning of what they saw. So I think they actually approached Kirtanand Maharaj, and Kirtanand Maharaj asked them, why don't you go and then ask Maharaj Swamiji? Go and ask him. And so they gathered some mojo, courage, and then approached Srila Prabhupada and asked Srila Prabhupada, you have told us, and we believe you, that you can never fall. But why were you standing in front of Lord Chaitanya, Lord Jagannath, crying? And Srila Prabhupada turned towards them and he said, yes, that is the difference between you and me. The difference between you and me is that you do not cry to the Lord, and I cry to the Lord for help and empowerment. So as devotees, we should be praying to the Lord that, my dear Lord, I am so weak, I cannot do this, I cannot do that. I can go out there and distribute the books, but I cannot make anyone a devotee. And I want to help others become devotees. So my dear Lord, please help me, touch me, so that I can also, in effect, touch others to become devotees. And when we pray like that, and the Lord becomes merciful upon us, then by that, we can make others devotees. Otherwise, our own preaching does not make others become devotees. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for the question. Hello. Our next question is from Govinda Prabhu. Govinda Prabhu, please kindly ask probing and the top questions to Sadhu, so that ask you.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my respectful obeisances.
Yeah, glory to Gurudeva, glory to Srila Prabhupada.
All glory to Gurudev, all glory to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much for your last answer. Praying to Krishna so that he help us for our words to be more effective to touch the individuals we are preaching to heart, so that they can become devotees. Yes, you made mention that distributing books is also preaching. Yes, it is preaching. In Krishna consciousness, whatever you do is preaching. But when we talk of making others devotees, I don't think we can be in a pujari room serving the deities without going out to talk to anybody, and then from nowhere people will come and become devotees because we are worshiping deities. And so preaching is emphasized. We go out there and preach. But what is a real preaching is our lifestyle is what we call the preaching, or the words that comes out of our mouth. It's a question and also kind of contribution to what you just said.
Mhm.
So I will finish and then you can also comment. Is it the words that come out of our mouth? Because one can be a very good speaker. One may have a very good brain, so he can read and memorize whatever he read and he can pour it out. And he can speak for hours and hours. Then we call him a very powerful backup preacher. But his lifestyle is completely opposite from what he preaches. So a person like that, how can he attract anybody if Prabhupada says purity is a force? If we are telling people to stop eating meat, and we are eating meat, how would our words be more powerful? How would Krishna dwell in our words and to affect anybody's heart? There is a story of a lady who took his child to a saintly man, and because the child was eating sweets. And he wanted the child to stop eating the sweets. So he took him to this saintly man to talk to him. But unfortunately, this saintly person was also a sweet eater. So when she got there and presented her case, he told the lady to go and come in 2 weeks. He came back, he talked to the boy, and the boy stopped eating the sweets. So the mother was wondering, what happened that this man did not talk to my boy the same day I went there. So when she tried to find out from him, then he told the lady that time he was also eating sweets, so he did not have the purity to talk to the boy. So in essence, what I'm saying is it the purity? We are not attracting people into our movement. Is it because we are not following properly? Is it because we are following while we are being so operatic, committing apparatus, and so our words are not so effective? Krishna is not empowering our words to penetrate into people's hearts. Is it because we are not preaching out of love, but we are preaching out of something else, which I don't want to mention? So, which is which? Is it the purity? We don't have that enough purity. That's why we are not affecting people. We know we are preaching every day, but our temples are empty. And you see our gurus, like Tita Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada, this powerful guru, whenever they speak one time and everybody is just ready to follow, become devotees and shave the same day. Even though we are saying the same thing. So how come that we saying the same thing and people are not coming? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you for your question, comment. Well, Srila Prabhupada is amazing because it's given us everything we need to understand what it takes to go back home, back to Godhead in this very lifetime. So he's told us that purity is the force. In order for something to happen, there must be a force. And the cause of that force is purity. So I was saying that Lord Chaitanya glorified Haridas Thakur because he said, Haridas Thakur, you are a very amazing devotee because there are two aspects of preaching. One is our words, and then two is our action. But you, Haridas Thakur, you know the scriptures, you know how to present the philosophy, you know how to present the teachings, and you also live the teachings. And so there are some of us who are very good at speaking without acting. And that is okay, but it's not very good. And there are others who are also really good at acting without speaking, which is also good, but not very good. I remember one time, His Grace, Varaha Prabhu was giving us a workshop on book distribution. So I don't know if he remembers, but I very well remember because it was so vivid that there is no way I can forget. So he wrote on the board, on the chalkboard, which of these cars do you prefer? A front wheel drive, a back wheel drive? Which do you prefer? Which is the best? And those days I remember I said the front wheel drive. I was arguing. I said it's front wheel drive because if the front wheel drive is able to get through the mud or whatever, then the rest will follow. And others were saying, no, the back wheel because so we argued, and the answer was a 4-wheel drive. All-wheel drive is the best. Because if you have a front wheel drive, the front part of the car could get through the mud, but once the rear wheel drive gets into the mud, it doesn't have the enough wheeling speed to get through it. So you get stuck. And if it's a back wheel drive, the front might not be able to get past the mud for the back wheel to get through it. But if it's all-wheel drive, then it doesn't matter where the obstruction is, the tire will be able to get through it. And so the best form of preaching is that we understand the scriptures, we know the scriptures, we know how to speak, and we know how to answer people's questions. And beyond that, we also live it. Like you were saying, Governor, we were saying, if someone is smoking cigarette and then asking his son or child not to smoke cigarette, what are you telling the child? If you do not want me to smoke, it's not good. Why are you smoking it? So we cannot tell people to do the right thing when we ourselves are not doing the right thing. You know, I cannot tell somebody to be nice with each and everyone when me, myself, I'm not nice with somebody else. Then somebody sitting somewhere is seeing, says, you're telling me to be nice with everyone, but I see you are not nice with this person. So your statement to that person to be nice with everybody will not be effective. But when there is purity, purity means that there is candidness, there is frankness. Whatever you're doing it without any ill motives. And if even in the course of performing such action, there is some fault attached to it, Krishna overlooks. Because Krishna himself has said in the Gita that there is no action in this world that has no fault. Just like there is no smoke without fire. You know, so there is always going to be some sort of fault with everything we do. But as long as we're doing it in the spirit of selflessness and pleasing the Lord overlooks those minor faults. Just like it said that small dark spot on the moon never overpowers the effulgence or the illumination of the moon. So Krishna is all merciful, all kind. So when we try to serve the Lord, then whatever little faults that come along with our service and service to the Lord will be overlooked by the Lord. So when it comes to preaching, in order for one to be effective, we have to do both. We have to know the scriptures and we have to live the scriptures. Now, making the devotees, we are not making devotees. What is the reason? Is it because lack of purity? I do not have a definite answer to that. But my assumption is that yes, most of us are not pure. Most of us are preaching just to show off how intellectual we are, how intelligent we are, how scriptural we are. So there is some sort of our own self-ego-centric in the preaching that we do. That may be one. And then two, maybe that it just happens that maybe somebody is doing everything right, but the Supreme Lord has not yet brought the ripe people who are supposed to get the benefit in touch with him so that they will get the benefit. Like you were saying, so many of Srila Prabhupada's disciples became disciples just by hearing his voice on the radio, on the television once. There are so many devotees Bhaktivinoda Maharaj made in the DC area, and they all became devotees just by hearing his voice on the radio. They just heard his voice on the radio and says, no, I would have to look for this person. They looked for him and they became devotees. Some of us may not be like that, but like I was saying, that does not also mean that we are not preaching. We are still preaching as long as we go out there Even if we do not say a word, but just distribute the books, Srila Prabhupada's books, we are still preaching. But for us to make devotees, it's only by Guru and Krishna's empowerment. And if we have not even had such empowerment to make others become devotees, we still don't have to give up going out there to distribute books and preach. We still have to go out there and do what we've been asked, taught by our acharyas, by our leaders to do. That is going out there and preach. Hare Krishna. I don't know if Salika, Srimad Bharata Prabhu is here, Chaitanya Prema is here, there are other senior devotees. You may add to what I have speculated.
Thank you very much, Sahadev, for the answer. I think what I will do, rather than add, is just to broaden the scope of our thinking in terms of the subject. And I want to do that by actually asking another probing question, following the footsteps of Govinda Prabhu. I want to be his disciple this evening. In the course of your answer, Krishna consciousness, according to Srila Prabhupada, runs on 4 wheels. He's giving so much of example using the wheels and the vehicles. So Srila Prabhupada said that Krishna consciousness movement runs on 4 wheels, which is purity, preaching, utility, and book distribution. 4 wheels. So my question here is it possible for one to be doing all of these 4 things according to the or based on the instructions of the spiritual master, and still not be able to make people or someone a devotee? I know you've been very humble in your answer to previous question by saying you may not know, but then I want you to also could someone that is given by the acharyas and still not be able to attract people to Krishna consciousness?
Hare Krishna, thank you. The other time we played one tape of His Grace Chaitanya Charan Prabhu, who was explaining the intricacies of karma and destiny. So in that presentation, he was saying that karma is what we have done in previous lives or in the past, in this very present life. And as a result, the results of the actions we performed are now here for us to enjoy or to suffer. And then destiny is that force which is out of our hands. For example, it is out of our hands to decide whether the sun shines or not. We cannot say the sun should stop, that I'm busy working, I do not want the night to come, so we try to stop the sun from setting. We cannot do that. So it is within our power to clear, till the soil, sow the seed, use all the necessary fertilizers, whatever we need to cultivate or sow this seed, even water it. Yet it's never within our power to make the seed grow. The growth part of the seed always remains in the hands of destiny. So we cannot say that, well, no matter what I do, if destiny does not want the seed to grow, the seed will not grow, so I'm not going to do anything. And then we sit idle. Oh, then the seed will never grow. But at the same time, we should not become so puffed up thinking that we've done everything we need to do, so the seed must grow. And this is the cause of so many people in today's world having so much stress. Because so many of us think that we have done everything there is to be done for this to be accomplished. And why haven't I been able to accomplish this? And then we become distressed. We become so downtrodden that we become so down to the point that we can no more act. That is very unfortunate, because that means that we have taken the role of the supreme authority in our own hands. That is not the case. So yes, a devotee may be following all these four wheels of devotional service you enumerated and still not be able to make devotees. But that devotee should not become so miserable that he's not been able to make devotees. Yes, we may become pathetic that I wanted to make devotees. I'm doing everything I need to do to make devotees, and still I'm unable to make devotees. We, as human beings, we should have such feelings, but such feelings should not make us feel so much down to the point that we give up. That shouldn't happen. But as long as we are doing what, see, this is the difference between devotional service and everything else. Because everything else, the end justifies what you are doing. In devotional life, the end doesn't justify. The justification is the sincerity and the attempt to render service to Krishna. The result is with Krishna. If Krishna wills, he will make it happen. If Krishna doesn't will, no matter what you do, it's not going to happen. We just read the example how BHAGAVATAM was made to take the role that he played, because Krishna wanted him to play the role for him to prove to the world that it is he alone, Krishna, who can make something happen. No matter how good you are, you can do everything right and still not achieve the desired results. So all these things should help us become more humble and more dependent on Krishna. And that is why Srila Prabhupada was crying before Lord Jagannath, because he knows that even though I am this, I am that, on my own, I cannot. Lord Arjuna is lamenting here. Arjuna had the power that even the demigods were envying him for. Yet, now Lord Krishna withdrew all these powers and it's become invalid. So that is my little answer to your question, Prabhuji.
Thank you very much. Actually, my question is a twin question. Irrespective of whichever way the answer goes, I add the broader of the question to the first one. So from your answer, the Deva or the supreme influence is there in respective of whatever we do. So my follow-up question then is that, okay, let's assume that Krishna's influence of role determines ultimately what happens. So then how do we determine whether it is Krishna's influence that is the cause of our not being successful or achieving a result, or it is our own fault of not properly executing the four wheels of bhakti? Even though we may simply think that, okay, I'm chanting, I'm doing the follow regulatory principles, and I'm doing the book distributions, I'm doing the four things, right? And then I'm doing those things. How do we know whether those things are not properly done or properly or improperly done, to determine that this is actually the influence of Krishna that's making it not be this way or that way? How do we distinguish? Because it becomes very easy to now say, okay, well, I'm doing everything, so it's Krishna that's not making it happen. So then one feels, okay, for me, I'm doing whatever I can do. So how do we distinguish that?
Thank you. That's a very beautiful follow-up question. And again, I'm going to speculate on this based on what I have read and heard from other devotees and from other acharyas on our line. And that is, as long as a devotee is sincerely doing everything he or she can to follow the instructions and the guidelines given to him or her by Guru and Krishna. If the expected result is not achieved, one should take it that it's Krishna's plan. Now, when one is not 100% following the guidelines, the instructions of the Guru, and expecting something to happen and it does not happen, it will be very, very wrong and unfortunate for such an individual to assume that, well, I'm doing everything right, but the Lord doesn't want it to happen, so I just give up. Nevertheless, whether it is by the Lord's design or by the design of our own immaturities and weaknesses, we should always endeavor to try to make it happen. And so one reason why Srila Prabhupada was crying, and actually Lord Srila Prabhupada himself encouraged devotees to go to Lord Chaitanya and cry to Lord Chaitanya and tell Lord, sorry, I'm calling out Lord Chaitanya so much today. May he bless me, Hare Krishna. But as devotees, we should go to Lord Jagannath and cry before Lord Jagannath and pray to him. My dear Lord, I want to embark on this project. I'm having so much difficulties. Please, I cannot do it by myself. I cannot do it alone. Help me. And when we do not become successful, we should go back and then cry to him. Now, after we've done everything there is to be done, and still there is no success, then we should not kill ourselves. We should not demoralize ourselves thinking that, oh, I was supposed to get this done, I could not do it, and so I give up, like Arjuna, you know. So as my arms are trembling, my quiver is falling off my hand, I've given up, I can't do this anymore. Then he reminded himself, after saying, I cannot do this anymore, he says, now, Supreme Lord Krishna, you are my Supreme Lord. Instruct me. You are my spiritual master. Instruct me what to do. And then whether gain or loss is up to you. And that, I think, should be the mood of devotees. We do everything the scriptures, the spiritual master tells us to do. And if the expected result is not achieved, we should see it as Krishna's plan. Krishna doesn't want it to happen. But at the same time, that should not make us become so like lackadaisical to the point that we become so weak-hearted. Oh, Krishna doesn't want this to happen, so I'm not going to venture doing it anymore. No, we should keep struggling, trying to make it happen. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, SAHADEV, for your answers to questions. And I think your answers have generated so many thoughts. So I'm seeing our Sriman Vara Prabhu, yes, hand is up.
Hare
So I'm not
Krishna.
giving Prabhu you wait. Let's hear Sriman Vara Prabhu's comments or question or chastisement, it may be.
Yes, please. Everything is welcome.
Turn right at the traffic light.
Jai, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. My humble
All
obeisance.
glories to Prabhupada. Obeisances to everybody.
Hare Krishna.
This topic is very, very deep, and we have to deal with it in the seriousness that it requires. I'll give one example. Devotees go on Sankirtan in one area for a long time, and they say people don't want books here. We've been going, nobody's taking. And an experienced Sankirtan devotee comes
and he goes with them to that area, and people start, and then he gave so many books out. So people say, how did you do it? So what is lacking is experience. It happened several times. The devotees, that sometimes back in Japan, the devotees were complaining, it's very bad, everything is bad, things are not going well, it's so bad here. Tamakrishna Maharaj went there and he said, no, change the mantra. Just start saying everything is good, everything will be all right. And then within some short time, many devotees started coming. Everything became alive and devotees started coming. So there was also that experience, So there's been a lot of experiences like this that people can, become, how do you say? They can get boxed up, just believing that their incompetence or their inability is just, Krishna's, or people don't want it, or Krishna willing, Krishna will not. Oh, no. So we have to, if we don't know how, you have to either, find out somebody who has experience in this area to help you out. There is nothing like a goalless goal. I mean, like you're having a goal, but even if there's no result, so anyway, it's my goal. No, once we have goals, it's to be able to achieve it. You have to achieve it. So if it is not possible, then our gurus will not say go and do it. If it is not possible, Krishna Guru will not say go and do this. They say when Guru gives you a task, it gives you the capacity to do it also. When God gives you a hard bread, it gives you the strong teeth to also, chew it. So anyway, first aspect of my contribution is to know that sometimes if we're lacking experience,
Take the exit on the right to Virginia 267, then keep right.
Shrimad Prabhu, we lost your audio.
Okay, I'm hearing you though. I'm hearing you. Are you hearing me?
Now we can hear you. Yes.
Okay. So the word impossible, Srila Prabhupada said, it is in a fool's dictionary. Nothing is impossible. So if we really want a result in any endeavor, and then we apply ourselves to it, definitely there's going to be a result. There's no question like, oh, we are doing everything that is needed and it is not working. The Christians have what they call a business Christian fellowship. And they have so many books on this. And Jesus Christ gave the example. I mean, they used the example of some parables of Jesus Christ to illustrate the fact that Jesus Christ is also an expert businessman, just like you might say the same thing about Prabhupada. And he said, if you give a land to be cultivated, and if it is not, you're going there, it's not yielding result, then you should sack all the people and you should sell the land to cultivate something else. So they say in that way, that's example of an expert businessman. If you see that it's not working for you, then if you think of another way to use the talent given. So anyway, there are many ways to see how to improve and to be able to get results, rather than saying it is just destiny and maybe Krishna doesn't want it, because that is very dangerous. That may make us to always to become, like you said, like Adasiko, to become withdrawn and thinking that it's just that it's not possible. It's just not a fact. It's not a fact. We have seen many times that where some people are saying that it is not possible, some other people come there and a different result is achieved. So I just want us to think along that line also. Okay, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Srimad Prabhu, for that. Let's hear Anandini Dhanam Prabhu. I have some follow-up question based on Prabhu Vara's comment on that topic, but because I've been speaking so much, let's give Anandini Dhanam Prabhu opportunity to hear his own voice. Anandini Dhanam Prabhu, please kindly unmute.
Yeah, so yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Yeah, so Prabhu, the question from Govinda Prabhu, as to where we are preaching, but our temples are not being filled with devotees. Prabhu, the observation I made personally in our yatra is that how much more do we care? I mean, some of us, we are not doing the preaching, but some people are out there preaching. But when they made the devotee, when they come to the temple, how much do we care for them? So, one Prabhu at our temple is called Solushana Prabhu. He's a devotee from Nigeria. But he said when he came to Media Yatra, he has been to the temple on about several occasions, probably 3 months, but nobody has spoken to him. He always come, nobody talks to him, he come, he listens, he goes. So when the people come, how much do we take care of for them? As to when they go, they'll be able to come back. So I think this bounce back to devotee care. If you are not caring about the people, they will not love coming. They will come the first day, but they will not come again. It's unlike Christian doms, when you go there, in fact, there is even an usher there to usher you in. But in our case, there is nothing like that. So I think even our lifestyle, people are out there preaching. But when they come to the temple, where the abode is, our lifestyle there differ from what we preach outside there. So that is making our temples vacant. So this is my new fight chipping that I always want to put in. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Nandini. That's a comment. And let's start to make it further talk on that. SAHADEV Prabhu, you want to say something?
Hare Krishna, Nandini Prabhu. That's a very good and true and honest observation. I've been saying this from time to time on this very platform, that I actually talked about the philosophy of the moonlight lady, wherein I was saying that you go out there in the full moon, you find a beautiful lady, you think it's so beautiful, you take her home, come the following morning, you realize that what you saw the previous night is not the real person, So we go out there to preach. Our teachings is so beautiful. It's so sweet, to the ears and to the heart. So people hear, it touches their heart, and then they come to associate. And when they come to associate and they do not see us living the sweet things we told them, then it's just a matter of time. They will go. So that is a fact that we should know and try to live our talk, So that is a responsibility for all of us as devotees, and particularly the leadership to help encourage the devotees to try to live what we preach. Because you can fool some people some of the time. You can't fool people all of the time. I'm not trying to say somebody's fooling somebody, but the fact is that when we speak one thing and do something else, that is not going to encourage others to associate with us. So your observation is true, is honest, and it's a challenge for all of us. For all of us who call ourselves devotees of the Lord, that we love Srila Prabhupada, we're trying to serve Srila Prabhupada, to live by the teachings that have been given to us, that we go out there to speak to other people. We should first ourselves live them. Srila Prabhupada, he wrote these books for distribution, but primarily he wrote these books for devotees to read, study, and live them. That is the first and foremost. We should not just be interested in going there to distribute books. We should first of all read and understand the books before we can go out there and have the power to distribute. So that is what I would say. And then trying to say something about what His Grace Srimad Varaprabhu said. Yes, Varaprabhu, you're absolutely right that sometimes one just needs a technique. In fact, that is why Bhaktivedanta Maharaj had this institute called Institute for Applied Spiritual Technology, because there must be a technological approach to making something happen. Now, Srila Prabhupada gives this analogy that in order for one to boil rice, you need fire, you need pot, you need rice, you need water, you need this. You have everything you need to cook rice. But if you do not know how, then you may not even be able to cook the rice, even though you have everything at your disposal. Because if you have the pot here and then you have the fire down here, then your rice is never going to get cooked. So that is there. But that also does not take away the fact that no matter how expert one is, as long as that person applies whatever he is told, even from the scriptures, to do what he's doing, he's going to be successful. That success always remains with Krishna. It's up to Krishna to make it happen or not make it happen. Otherwise, it also becomes a problem for the sadhaka to think that because I have done this, that, it's a must that it should happen. In fact, in the British language, they're trying to do away with the word must because it is such a deceptive word that it makes people become so much puffed up, thinking that, and especially in the West, it's the greatest disease most people are suffering from, thinking that I have done this, I've done that, I've done this. This must be the result. Why don't I have the result? And then they become stressed. So yes, it's a fact that sometimes somebody might not be so experienced to approaching a particular thing to make it happen. And in that regard, you go to someone who is very experienced. For example, like Shrimad was saying, you go, and Salika Prabhu was also saying, you go somewhere and you say, oh, this is a very difficult place. I cannot distribute books. But there are techniques. When you have somebody who is experienced and then he guides you how to do it, then you'll be able to do it. But even after you've been guided, you still might not be able to do it. And when that happens, then one should not become so morose, but one should think that I did my best and the Lord didn't make it happen. That is just what I will say to that. It seems we have something from His Grace C. Prima.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sahadeva Prabhu. And before Shaitan Prima Prabhu comes on, I just want to also broaden that. So maybe that will also add to what Shaitan Prima Prabhu was to tell us. Yeah, I think there are two sides to the coin here in this topic. One side is, like Srimad Varaprabhu was explaining, one should avoid the chances, the tendencies to become complacent, thinking that, well, it's not possible because Krishna factor is not making it happen. I'm doing my best. That we should avoid. At the other side also, which you are emphasizing, that irrespective of whatever expertness, one has to also understand that sometimes it could happen. Just like where I give an example, somebody is giving, somebody is going somewhere for Sankirtan, is not, people are not taking the book, somebody else comes. But I could also say it may not necessarily be techniques, because sometimes we see a guru is speaking. We've seen that happens in West Africa here, especially, that some particular spiritual master is speaking. And people, he's a guru. He's attracting souls everywhere. I think in one of Kamchana Maharaj's sharing of realization, he was expressing some of his senior God brothers. they had gone to Japan and they were not able to make people a devotee. And he went there. Somehow or the other, Krishna just makes him dance. Krishna just empowered him. And he started making a whole different thing. And these are senior devotees who are senior to him in the movement. They are empowered. They have done so. They've conquered so many regions before they went there. And he mentions their name, but they were not able to influence that place. And Srila Prabhupada example himself. Srila Prabhupada, when he started wanting to preach, yes, he has his spiritual master's instructions to go to the West, but Prabhupada was trying to start this movement in India. And every effort that Prabhupada made was not just within the result. And there was not much acceptance. But there are so many. His own disciples went with him back to India, and there were millions of people becoming devotees and still becoming devotees today. So why would one say that Prabhupada wasn't potent enough to make Indian accept Krishna consciousness? But it's just because Krishna factor wants it different ways. We've talked about within this country, we've talked about Krishna's plan. So Krishna's plan was that the ISKCON movement for this era has to take initiative. It has to start from US. Prabhupada got a ticket to go to I think Hong Kong, but he said he never want to go there. But he went to US and he got a result. And when he came back with his own disciples, then we start making waves. So that factors are there. Anyway, I just wanted to share some of these examples. Shriman Shaitan Prima Prabhu, please, sorry, can you unmute and then let's hear your comments or contributions or questions.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. I want to say the work done so well, addressing this subject matter from different angles. I also want to just add another angle to it, and that's the beauty of we come together and discussing subject matters. In response to Anandini Dana's question, devotees go out, they preach, people like the philosophy, they come, and devotees are not caring, and they go back, and all that. We are not getting plenty followers, and others are getting followers. Anyway, this is not a movement for plenty followers like that. The International Society for Krishna Consciousness is preaching pure devotional service. Pure devotional service is not a cheap commodity. So when people come in contact with it, it's not everybody that we take it. That's why we have verses like out of many millions of people who come, one may become a devotee, and out of those who become devotees, one may become a pure devotee and go back to God. So it's a movement. You know, pure devotional service is the greatest treasure in the entire universe, and it is not cheaply given. Okay, this is one aspect. So it is not everybody that come in contact with devotees that we even understand them. I want to talk of becoming serious devotees, coming again and again and becoming serious devotees. And secondly, there are 4 types of people that have come to our movement. And we all know those who are looking for wealth are among those. You may think that they are listening to a philosophy, it's because of a philosophy they are coming. But in their mind, they are looking for where they can make fast money. And in this way, these different kinds of people come. And when they come and see that the philosophy is not telling them, giving them how to make fast money, they will not tell you. But that is their secret intention. So they just go back. And one looking from their son, I may think that devotees are not really caring so much. Therefore, this person has gone back. Krishna knows everybody's hearts, and he knows how to, where to meet each and everyone situationally. Different strokes for different folks. So only those who are evolved to the platform of taking devotional service serious, that will come very seriously. In other words, there is a cutting of yoga maya there around the temple. The internal potency of the Lord covers the area, so that if you are not coming with your heart, you might not see anything clearly. And since if there is so much of contamination of all kinds of desires, you may come and you see that Yoga Maya herself will push you that you are not related yet. And if you come in this way, you may even come and contaminate some other people. So you stay away first. So there are many, universal factors beyond our immediate intellectual ability to analyze. There are many factors beyond our intellectual analysis that contribute to what happens and what doesn't happen in and around. So I just want to put these points so that we can look at the matter from all angles. Though it is true that devotees,
Thank you for your contribution. Actually, that's a very beautiful angle also, which does not deflect the fact that sometimes our home is not very clean, so it doesn't attract certain level of people. I remember saying some story, like told sometimes. I think that was somewhere in Central Africa, some temples, I can't remember exactly, but I know it's not in West Africa. And they went, and the government official came, and they had to escape through the back. Most of us will remember that story. So sometimes also, like Anandini Dhanam Prabhu said, our setup does not reflect what we preach. It is an obvious fact. But then at the same time also, from your own perception, from the angle from which you're explaining it, yeah, sometimes also, because it's not everybody that goes to the gold shop. And even among those who go to the gold shop, few people buy gold. And even among those who buy gold, there are few of them who own gold, because some are just coming to buy gold for others or on an errand to buy gold. So that is also there, which is very beautiful angle to the subject matter. Thank you very much. I think Govinda Prabhu asked a follow-up. So Prabhu Govinda, please kindly go ahead and then
Prabhu, it's very nice, this topic of discussion. Different answers are coming from different directions, and they are all very potent. They are all very, very good. But what I would like to say is that Krishna consciousness, even though it's collective, because Rupa Goswami says devotion service is performed in association with devotees. We perform this devotion service in association with devotees. So it's collective, but at the same time also it's individual. Because at the end of it all, Krishna says, I reward you according to how much you surrender. We have to look very critically, very critically in this Anandini Dhanam Prabhu's comment. It's very, very important. If you look at it, even on the material scales, you come to realize that we will not be comfortable like going to hospital, and you are sick, you go to hospital and you see the doctors and the nurses walking about, nobody talk to you, you're just sitting there, and these nurses are just walking by laughing and walk away. How are you going to feel? I don't think you can recommend such a hospital to anybody to go there, because you already had a very, very bad experience. And also, you're going to look for a job. You enter into a company and they say they are hiring, and you alone go there, and none of the managing directors or the personnel in the company are happy to talk to you. You just be hanging there, sitting on the bench, and nobody talks to you. You just get up and go home. Will you go there again next time, or will you recommend anybody to go there? No. So the living entities are seeking for love. We should not forget that the people that we are preaching to, they are not foreign people. They are the same, our brothers and sisters falling from a spiritual world just like us. And we are being so fortunate that we are being given a chance to have this light of knowledge to turn back home back to God. Are we happy? Yes, that Dhruva Maharaj, when he was going, he was converted. So are we happy going back to God there and all these souls are here in the material was offering? No. And so we should be very, very happy when someone comes to the temple. We should be very, very happy if someone comes into our midst. The little we have, the little love we have, please, let us exhibit it to such a person. Let us give him that little love. Let us help him to actually develop interest of Krishna. Let us help him also to become devotee because we know the goal of it. You know the importance of one becoming a devotee is the only way one can escape from this material entanglement. So if someone comes to us, we should forget about his background, whether he's looking for money, whether he came because of this purpose or that purpose. We should just try to do the little that we could to encourage that person because we may not know. That person, maybe he will live there and the next day, that next day, next year, the person will no more be on the planet. Like Guru Maharaj told us one day that anytime anybody meets you or you meet anybody and he tries to give you a gift, never reject it. Never reject any gift. Why? Because that is the only chance that person can be liberated by giving a gift to a devotee. Don't reject it. So if a devotee comes to us, it is also a gift that Krishna has given us. And so we should make that gift more profitable by encouraging that person also to become attracted to Krishna. This should be our duty. You know, a doctor is expecting patient, and when the patient comes, it's a duty of the doctor to make sure that patient is treated and get well. So we are the ambassadors. Temple is an embassy. So people coming to the embassy, they come in to look for visa, and they come, you don't talk to them. You don't care about them. So then what are we doing? What is the temple there for? What are we there for? And or even those, the people who live there in that temple, they don't even care about each other. Sometimes, most of us, we don't even care about each other. Whether you are okay, you are not okay, you come to program, or you don't come, nobody care. So are we really doing the right thing? You know, these are some of the things that is why Krishna is not empowering us. Krishna is not showering us Shakti. Why should Krishna let a very noble soul to come to the temple and Krishna know very well that nobody is going to talk to him? We think Krishna will make that person come? No. No, you may preach very nicely, nice philosophy, but Krishna will not let him come because there's nobody there to entertain him. Nobody will be there in that temple to encourage or to welcome that person. So why should Krishna let him come? So we should do our homework, and we very often, most often, point hands to the authorities. You know, authorities are not doing well. No, who are the authorities? we are individually, we are also authorities. We should all play our part very, very nicely. We should not point hands. So if nobody is talking to people when they come to temple, you take that trouble upon yourself. And then begin to talk to people. Whoever come, welcome him, give him some water to drink, entertain him. And that is where you can get your blessings from the Lord. I don't want to take the platform. I'll end here. But what I'm saying is that we should be more caring. Everybody, every person, every soul on this planet is a devotee of Krishna. It's just a matter of time. So we should be concerned, especially about whoever make a move to look for Krishna. We should help him. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Govinda Prabhu, for that piece of advice that devotees also will need to. We have SRIMAD Prabhu's hand up. SAHADEV Prabhu, I think you are not all okay.
No, yeah, Vara Prabhu may go, yes.
Yes,
actually, I'm okay. Am I audible? Are you
Yes,
hearing me?
very well.
Am I audible?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay,
Yes,
yeah,
you are.
actually, I was going to applaud. I was going to applaud Govinda Prabhu's contribution. And, then it went up as like, I was raising my hand, but no problem. I can just say, kudos. I love his contribution. He was saying something very important. I mean, that means that our effort counts. What effort we make count. He said, what gift Krishna has given to us, we should make that gift more positive, more valuable. It's just like the parable of the talents in the Bible. So some people say, well, Master, what you have given me, well, I know you are very strict, so I just keep it there, And some people went out and doubled it. And Jesus Christ said, from those who do not have, the little that they have, it will be taken and will be given to those who already have. Yeah. So, I mean, we should not be complacent. We should never think that, Krishna is not sending the result. We have to actually, assess how much we are using what Krishna has given. So I really appreciate his contribution. That way of thinking is very important. You see, I have one thing that that disturbs me a lot, about devotees trying to explain things sometimes, like side by side, we are seeing problem, and then again, we're saying that, no, it's no problem. Many a time, we are like shooting our own self at the leg. Whereas the Christians, when they identify a problem, they go all out to see how to solve that. They go all out to see how to make it not a problem, a challenge that they have to overcome. But in Krishna consciousness, like our philosophy allows us to always justify both sides of the coin. I know, okay, it's just like that. Okay, so let us see, and it's very dangerous. It's not helping us to grow. It's not helping us to grow at all. But you see, when we identify that we want to have a result in something, we're doing it. Can anyone go out to do business not wanting a result? That is not possible now. You go out there, you are doing something because you want a result. And if you're not getting a result, you should find out how you can get a result. That is a progressive way of thinking. But the fatalistic way of thinking is to say that, God does not give it. So you are just like a parasite, just taking advantage of the situation, and you're not thinking of how to make the situation more better or progressive. We want to if you have your own proper business and it's not advancing, wouldn't you do something about it? So let us change our way of thinking. And of course, that way of thinking will not change as long as we have this way of always trying to justify even failure, justify non-performance, justify, incompetence. No, it's not. We should not do that. Our guru is not an example of somebody who justifies incompetence and lack of result. No, he never did that. So I think the way of thinking, when we identify a problem, where, for instance, in the past, I remember when Guru Dev was there, devotees who are good in Sankirtan travel around to show how to do it. The regional secretary is considered to be very experienced in management. He goes around to show the leader in the temple, if he's having problem in any area, to show him how to do it. So, I mean, that was the system in the past. Now, everyone is left to do what he is doing, and then later we condemn them. That is not our system. That's not how our guru trained us, Prabhupada himself never trained his disciples like that. He allowed those who have an experience to go around to show how to do it, to give them examples how to do it. And then, of course, when leaders meet, that also supposed to be some of the seminars, things to improve in different areas of operation, how to go about it. I remember I attended so many conferences on fundraising, on how to make devotees, on many other conferences, which today, form part of my experience. And I'm using whatever I've learned from that, and it's working for me. Those experiences I never had before, but because I attended many conferences, whenever we went to India or some, other opportunities we have had in the past. which I cannot forget. So I think our devotees should be thinking in this direction rather than wanting to justify non-performance by saying it is just destiny. If Krishna does not give result, if the Krishna doesn't give result, then that means maybe that's not what you're supposed to be doing. So you should change the area, or you change the service we're doing. Change the service. Because Krishna never says that we should do service without having result. But the result, of course, is for him. But not doing service without result, that is not what we are taught. No. There should be some result. And that result should be offered for the pleasure of Krishna, for Guru and Krishna. That's why when we announce Sankirtan report, we say for the pleasure of Sisi Radha of the deities and the spiritual master and the devotees. And people are happy to hear that. So now we shouldn't lose that tradition. Anyway, I hope I've made my point. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for that comment. It's actually interesting because Krishna, Guru Maharaj, he talks so much about avoiding to become mediocre in the course of trying to be submissive or surrender to the path of Krishna consciousness. Thank you very much. So now, SAHADEV, Prabhu, any last comment? We've been here for 2 hours, and I think we're using all of this time now. So before we go, there are no more answers, but last comment.
Well, Hare Krishna, I think devotees are very kind and merciful. I understand the whole SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM stems from just 4 verses, and we have this huge book. So there is always so many angles to everything discussed, and various devotees have brought out very, very important angles that we all should try to look into and try to make devotional service live up to its nature. Devotional service, according to Krishna, is susukam. It's joyfully performed. And so if it is not being performed in a very joyful manner, then we should understand there is something wrong somewhere. And we try to look for what is the cause and try to fix it.
Sorry to cut you. Sorry to cut you. It is susukam, avayam. It is also ananda buddhi vardhanam, ever increasing.
Ever increasing, yes.
That is what Lord Chaitanya said.
Yes.
It is ever increasing. So if it is stagnant, our Guru used to say, there's no stagnancy. If it's stagnant, you should know that something is wrong. It's ever increasing. Ananda buddhi vardhanam. Okay, sorry to cut you.
No, it's okay, no. But actually I heard Bhaktivedanta Maharaj, Gurudev, say few times, if not many times, that in Krishna consciousness, there is no stagnation. It's either you go up or you sink down. There is no way you're going to be able to stand wherever you are. It's either you move up or you move down. But what I was going to say is that, like what Srimad Prabhu was saying, that Sri Krishna has given us the intelligence to make things happen. And so, like these days, people travel to Dubai, People travel to Dubai to visit as tourists. Beautiful place. But if one should know what Dubai used to look like before, then you'll be surprised. If it were left to me and you might say, no, this is a desert place. What can we do? But a desert place, now they have lakes. They have so many amazing things. Why? Because they use their intelligence to make things happen. And things actually did happen. But that also does not diffuse the fact. Maybe last thing, Sri Salika Prabhu, if you can put this verse on the screen. CC Antya-lila 2:14.
CC?
Yeah, Antya-lila 2:14.
Antya-lila?
Yes.
What chapter?
Chapter 2, text 14.
Text 14.
Yeah.
Okay, here we have it.
Se Vinaya Bhakti Karana Prakashe Tahara Darshana Vaishnavahaya Sarvadeshe. Thus, okay, if you can scroll up, we want to go to the purport. Thus he empowered 11 beings. Thus he empowered 11 beings. That is his pure devotees. So Krishna empowering his pure devotees by manifesting in them so much of his own devotion that people in all other countries became devotees by seeing them. So if you can scroll up a little bit, it's a very small paper, short paper. Unless one is empowered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, one cannot spread the holy names of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra throughout the world. Persons who do so are empowered. Therefore, they are sometimes called average avatars or empowered incarnations, for they are endowed with the power of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, in order for somebody like Sri Prabhupada to do what he did, must be empowered. But there are little ones like us who might not be able to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. Maybe we can spread Krishna consciousness in our own little cubicle. But whatever little knowledge, whatever little teachings, guidelines that have been given to us, if we apply them, like Srimad Prabhu was saying, when the Guru gives you instructions, he also gives you behind the instructions the power to make things happen. And when we try to do that, then Guru and Krishna may help us. And then when the devotees come, you see, that is why it's the most difficult thing is always taken care of by Krishna himself. Creation is very difficult, but not very difficult. Destruction is difficult, but not very difficult. Sustenance is very difficult. And so we can go out there and preach and make devotees, they will come. It's okay. But to keep them is the most difficult thing. And that is why it's taken care of by Lord Vishnu himself as the maintainer. So we are Vaishnavas, and it's our responsibility to make sure that we also try to maintain, to sustain. So it's a challenge for us that even though we may go out there and may be able to make so many devotees to come and join, but it's very difficult to keep them. And it requires the Lord's mercy and guidelines to make these devotees stay. That's all I would say, but thank you all for your contributions.
Thank you very much.
Blessings and mercy upon this wretched Sahadev. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very, very much, Sahadev Prabhu. Thank you everyone for being here. It's Friday again, and we're going into the weekend like Sahadev Prabhu announced. Now we all got the time to go, and but there is for devotees. There is no weekend, there is no weekdays, because Krishna consciousness is continuous. We do everything the same way, the same day, with a new realization and new experiences on a daily basis. We thank you all very much for coming. We thank you very much, Sahadev Prabhu. And at this point, having the permission of all of the devotees, I'm going to request that we all unmute ourselves. Let us loudly chant the powerful Hare Krishna mantra, adding the weekend while going to it to appreciate some of our Sahadev Prabhu.
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Our glorious assembly devotees.
Hare Krishna.